Oh, we're just friends. Men and women can't be just friends. Once you're in the friend zone, that's it. Friends with benefits. We're talking about all these social norms and more with consultant and platonic friendship expert Pamela Naidoo. Let's kick it!
Hi, I'm Pamela Naidoo, and I'm the author of Just Friends, the Ultimate Girl's Guide to Male Friendships, and I'm kicking it with Doree.
Welcome to the Kicking It with Doree show. This is Doree Allen Nieves. Pamela Naidoo is a friendship expert and consultant. Currently residing in London, Pamela was born and raised in South Africa, where she trained as a professional chemical engineer. Pamela's greatest passion is people, and her most admired strengths are her friendship skills. On a mission to extend this friendship knowledge with the world, Pamela teamed up with some of the world's leading scientists and research scholars to explore friendships, and specifically study the dynamics of male-female friendships, platonic friendships, which is now the fastest growing social interaction on the planet. Her new book, Just Friends, The Ultimate Girl's Guide to Male Friendships, gives secrets on how to make long-lasting, fun, and meaningful friendships with men. And now I'd like to welcome to the show, Pamela Naidoo. Welcome to the show, Pamela.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Doree.
Oh, wow. This is so great to be able to talk to you. I love your accent. You are, as I just described in the bio, from South Africa and now living in London. What's that been like?
Oh, that's been amazing. I think having the opportunity to live in two different countries is nothing short of a blessing. And both amazing countries, and both showed me, really stripped down to more about understanding who I am as a person and get to explore my options into different environments. So I've been very lucky.
Awesome. Yes. I still have not had that opportunity to get to Europe, but when I do, I know there's a lot of people that I need to visit and a lot of things I need to see. So it's really exciting to have you on the show. And so now what I want to do is get into this universal topic that you've got. You are the author of a new book called Just Friends, The Ultimate Girl's Guide to Male Friendships, talking about platonic friendships. And that's something that everyone has their views on as far as whether or not men and women can be just friends and whether it's good to have a relationship that's a friends with benefits relationship because it's not exactly platonic anymore. Just various different things that we think about as we start, even from teenagers, not even young adults, teenagers, are dealing with this. And so I'm really glad to have you to talk about this because you are the friendship expert. And I understand from your book that you've had a very long platonic friendship with your best friend who is a male, and there's nothing else to it. You have a boyfriend and you have this male friend, and there's no conflicts there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to having male friends, and when you get into a relationship, most people will be very resigned and cynical about keeping their existing opposite sex friends, and there shouldn't be a reason for that, because if you've had these friends before you've met your partner, then surely your partner would have to deal with some of his own insecurities if he feels threatened by this. I mean, ultimately, if you wanted to be with your guy friends, who you've made friends already, you would have. And the fact that you're not together means that there was just nothing there to begin with. So there's no real reason for your partner to feel threatened. On the same token, I'd say that it is also your responsibility to make sure your partner doesn't feel like you value your friendship more than you value his relationship with him. Mm-hmm. So it's fine-tuning the balance between maintaining a partner and having, male friends.
Yes, I agree. From a young age, whether it was myself or even now with like my daughter who's just finishing middle school, I hear females sometimes say that it's easier to be friends with guys than it is to be friends with girls because guys don't have drama. What's been your experience about female versus male friendships?
Right, so personally, I'm a big fan of having both types of friendships, and they both give me different things at different points in my life. And the beauty of having both sides or both types of friendships is that you can take the best qualities from both these types of friendships and incorporate them into your own life options. When you have things to deal with, you can say, okay, in this situation, I think, if I'm going on a date, then, having the perspective of a male friend is going to be extremely valuable to understand how to handle my brother, my male working colleague, a partner, And there are times when all I want is the support from my females. So for me personally, I found it much more easy, and I felt less judged when I'm around my guy friends. I guess they are better at better at containing their emotions and not sweating the small stuff. And women, we are more emotionally intense, generally speaking, and rightfully so, because genetically we built social hierarchies, and so we invest in relationships more, we foster partnerships, we build to invest more emotionally. But, it is important to have both skills, but know when to use them, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, because there are times when, we as women need to take the emotion out of it, and there's times where men need to get in touch with their feelings and go deep. So I agree.
Absolutely, and that's why they need us just as much as we need them.
No matter what your sexuality is, no matter, if you have brothers, sisters, whatever, I do believe that we all need each other. And so that's very well said.
I think, Derry, you hit the nail on the head there. I think what you've said is basically the premise of the book, and it's come out in the form of endorsing platonic friendships. We coexist with each other in so many different levels today, more than we've ever done. And going forward, that interaction of men and women spending more time around each other, doing similar activities, breaking work barriers, we're doing it equally together these days. And the reason, there's so many reasons to want to be able to harmonize that relationship between men and women so that you can have a more fulfilling life. It's no longer becoming a possibility. It really is becoming more necessity to be able to work and live in harmony with each other.
So let's start off as we're talking about friendships and platonic friendships. What exactly would you say is the friend zone? How do you define that? Because normally when we talk about being in the friend zone, you hear guys saying, okay, I'm in the friend zone, and now that I'm in the friend zone, there's no way out. I can never really get with her ever.
Okay, so the friend zone is basically a situation between two friends where one person longs for more than a friendship, but the other person merely wants a platonic relationship. So ultimately what it's saying is there's a commitment mismatch between two people, and those two people in the same friendship have varying needs and expectations. Now, by definition, friendships need to be mutual and favorable to both people. So when one person is expecting differently to the other, then the friendship itself is off balance. And one person would then result being in the friend zone. And it makes, ultimately the setup means you're in a holding pattern, and it's unhealthy and can derail the friendship. So technically it's sort of a non-friendship for a little while.
Let's just say that one person, likes someone more than the other person or whatever. Do you have any advice for what that person would do in order to mitigate that and kind of like not have their hopes up so much so that they're not, being let down or hurt as badly?
I think it all starts with intention. So, when we start friendships, we've always got to understand what our intentions are or motivations for getting into a friendship. Your intentions might well be on both sides intentionally platonic, but, feelings can develop at any point in time, and matters of the heart are very hard to rationalize and make sense of. So yeah, absolutely, you can develop feelings for your friends, and you can get to know them better and start to like them a lot more. The thing to understand with the friend zone, or the trick with the friend zone, is that sometimes it is a need to be placed in the friend zone. And there's many reasons why a girl will friend zone a guy. For instance, she might not be ready for a relationship. She might value his friendship. She might prioritize differently in terms of what she wants right now. Maybe she's prioritizing work. And I'm saying she, but actually I do mean both sides of the fence. But when you talk about the friend zone, ultimately one person has developed feelings for the other person. And I think the only time we should ever stay in the friend zone is permission to explore these feelings with ourselves and with that person. We really need to ask ourselves, firstly, are those feelings real? Sometimes we can get overwhelmed when our friends are starting to build emotional bonds with us, and it can blur the lines between friendship and romance. Sometimes you could have just come off a relationship, and so your friends are there, the first ones to support you, and again you build up emotional attachments. And there's so many reasons why you might start to see your friend as more than a friend. But once you've ascertained that your feelings are not misplaced, or it's not just a phase you're going through and it's not just going to fizzle out, then it's time to understand what he feels. And it's only fair to let the other person know how you feel about them, because it's unfair to both parties at any given point in time to be in a friendship when there's varying expectations. If the person that's doing the friend zoning and is unaware they're actually friend zoning that person, to hang up with somebody who has ulterior motives is not fair on you. And on the flip side, to be the one that likes someone and spend all your time and invest all your energy with someone that may or may not result into fruition to something successful will be, a bit of a waste of your time as well. So it's about understanding that you need to understand the needs of your friends as much as you need to understand your own needs and bring that out in the open.
Yeah, I was in a situation where I had to let someone kind of clearly know that, hey, I know you like me, but like it's not going to happen. And, I'm married now, but this was before I was married. I was clearly single. He was clearly single. And he was a really, really good friend to me. I enjoyed spending time with him. We did lots of things together. But he knew how I felt and I knew how he felt. And it was difficult because for a while, he would kind of like tone it down. And then every blue moon, we'd be on the phone and he would say something. And I'd be like, yo, like, that sounds like something that you would say to me if we were talking like that, or if we were dating, and that like you're crossing the line just with your language. And so I think that it's important that you recognize that if someone has feelings for you and they're not reciprocal, that you're clear about it. But it is hard to break up with your friend because they can't turn off or draw that line that you have set.
Absolutely, Derry. I mean, the story you've just outlined is so typical. It's almost a textbook example of the arena of platonic friendships. It goes without saying that you're going to have friends that just will push the boundaries at some point if they feel more of attraction is overwhelming for them. But like you've said, it's being there to support your friend and say, hey, you know what, I love your company, but I don't see you anything more than a friend. And if he respects that, then he would take the time out to say, okay, well, I just got to accept that she doesn't want anything more than this. And how much am I willing to risk this friendship? And, if he's a good friend, then he's going to turn around, resolve his feelings, maybe even take time out, spend some time away from you, and come back and say, okay, I'm ready to handle this friendship like a normal, pure platonic friendship. As opposed to having any hidden agendas. So, and being there to support your friend in that process is also important. He's being honest with you, and it's hard to be brave in situations like this. You're very vulnerable, but allow yourself to be empathetic with him and draw the line if after repeated conversations and repeated time out doesn't solve the problem, because it is an unhealthy relationship to be in. It's draining on both parties unless he can come to realize that, I can add value to this friendship as a whole, and I've accepted that my friend doesn't see me that way, then, then this friendship is probably doomed to end.
Is there sort of a correct way to make friends with a guy?
So making friends with guys is slightly different from making friends with girls. The key difference is understanding your approach with guys. Firstly, the media has instilled in us that when two people of the opposite sex come together, it must be for romantic intentions. Even, social norms expect that from us as well. So the idea is to expect that people would be surprised when two people of the opposite sex try to initiate a friendship. And when you are with guys, there's a few things you have to understand in terms of how they operate. And one of the big ones is your sharing your emotional needs. Early on in the friendship, it's about keeping things rather superficial and rather easy and relaxed. And you don't want to go and share dating stories and heavy conversations that will just come out as needy and off-putting. I mean, guys don't even talk about these things with their own male friends, let alone a platonic friend that's just entered the picture. In terms of, getting to that level. Sure, he would do it later on. Once he's built trust, he's going to probably share a lot more with you. But in the beginning, it's important to keep things, really simple. But the biggest tip I can give is that when you are with guys and trying to make male friends, try to keep in group activities, try and avoid coupley arrangements. And this should be very early on in the friendship until you've both established that a relationship or anything physical is off the cards. Try and always do things in groups. And, we've done hundreds of surveys and lots of, over the years, talking to lots of girls and guys separately. And one of the biggest hindrances that guys have with trying, or barriers they have with trying to make female friends, is the fact that their female friends would start off great and they have platonic intentions, but very quickly they move to, like, let's go for a picnic, just the two of us, or let's go for a sunset stroll, and suddenly all the arrangements become very coupley, and then it confuses guys. It's hard for them to even see you as a friend in the first place because they've got their own biological challenges to deal with. So we need to make it easy for each other in terms of what sort of signals we're giving off to guys to make them know that, hey, I just want to be your friend and I'm really interested in just hanging out with you. So any talk of, being flirty or relationships or how I dress and present myself to other guys, that's super important. I mean, guys are visual creatures. If you want a guy to see you as a friend, then you will have to dress appropriately for that. I mean, save all your super risky outfits for your girls' night out. Great time. But when you're around guys, they've got their own challenges to deal with as well. And if you really want to get the right outcomes, you have to send the right signals.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You can't be showing all the goods and expect them to not, start salivating.
Most of the experiences with women that struggle to make male friendships, and I'm talking from the basis of my book where it was intended for women to make male friends, the ladies that really struggle to make male friends, ones that really struggle to send out the right signals when, either verbally or with their body language and in their dressing. And if they address these small issues or concerns, then it'll make it much easier for guys to want to be their friends. Definitely, I'd say those are very striking qualities. And it's in no way saying that you should dress down or, you should feel less confident about yourself. Dress to a point of confidence. But it's a different kettle of fish we're dealing with. And they have their own challenges too. And if ultimately your goal is to make male friends, then create an environment that stimulates that.
That's right. But not stimulating in the wrong way. So, and again, we're talking about platonic friendships here. We're not talking about 21 ways to get a guy or something. Now, my next question has to do with the guy. Let's say you want to be friends with a man who has a significant other. They already have a girlfriend. Sometimes women that are trying to be friends with a particular guy with no ulterior motives, they don't want to sleep with them or anything. This is just platonic. They might have a challenge because it's like, I don't want to step on anyone's toes because they've got a girlfriend. And, we as women can sometimes be very jealous and possessive, just like men can be possessive. And so, how would you approach or coach someone to meet and befriend a man that has a significant other? And is it okay to make friends with someone of the opposite sex if they have a significant other?
Okay, that's a really good question, and definitely one for the new age. So in terms of, firstly, going back to making friends when you're in a relationship, that's very uncommon for people to make new opposite-sex friends when they're in a relationship because it threatens their own relationship. And men and women are less likely to want to make opposite-sex friends. However, there are certain accepted places where we are forced to be with each other for long periods of time, and we do a lot of activities together. For instance, we play sport together, or we work together, or we're at church together and we sing together. So we spend a large amount of our time together, and you can't help but build relationships. The important thing to remember is when a guy is in a relationship is to make him feel as if you are not threatening his relationship. That's the first thing. And he should feel like, okay, well, this girl comes out as quite platonic and she seems quite friendly. And he's probably not going to be, equally as sharing and as comfortable as someone that's not in a relationship. But with guys that are in relationships, you have to take it slow and steady. And the priority with guys in a relationship is actually trying to convince their partners that you are safe. And the way to do that is to arrange is to arrange an outing where three of you or more, a group of you go out together. And then she can see for herself, like, oh, this is just a work relationship and there's no real threat here. But it's how you also make her feel. I think you have the responsibility to make his partner feel as if you like him as a friend and you like them being together and you sort of support that relationship and get her involved in things going on in your world, get her involved in your love life, get her involved with your friends. Friendships are all about extending and making new friends. So making a guy friend who has a girlfriend, there's another girlfriend really just waiting to be made. So it's about not limiting ourselves to the amount of people that we want in our lives, but being open to the idea that when we meet people, they're not barriers for us. In fact, if anything, they should be people that are just waiting to be our friends. And that's the attitude we should adopt.
I also think it's really important for people that are in relationships to have that discussion with their significant other up front to say, okay, these are the rules of our relationship. Maybe you're saying, hey, you know what? I already have these friends. I've known them for a long time. I shouldn't have to get rid of all of my existing friends, but maybe I don't make a lot of new friends and spend time with them on the phone for hours and things like that. You have to establish your own rules. There will be some people that are so super possessive and controlling that they'll say, no, I don't care if you met him when you were 5 years old. You're never going to talk to him again because now I'm here. And that's a whole nother show, because if someone is trying to own you, like your property, and that you can only be and talk to them, then that's a whole nother situation that's beyond the scope of, making friends. It's like, okay, what's going on with you and your partner that you would allow that? But you have to establish those rules. Both people, not just one person or the other, but both people in that relationship have to decide, what are they comfortable with? There may be some level of insecurity, but it shouldn't be so out of the way that, like you said, there's a threat there. There has to be some kind of really innocent intention. You can't be hanging around talking about certain things and having your breasts hanging out all the time and stuff like that, and not think that this other person's not going to have a problem with you.
Oh, absolutely. I think you've nailed that right on the head. When it comes to making friends or in relationships, for establishing boundaries within your relationship and with your friend is really important. I mean, of course, with your friends, the boundaries are established more, implicitly, whereas with relationship, you should be talking about what's acceptable and what's comfortable for the both of you. But if you just met a guy who's in a relationship, you don't want to leave either of you. Don't want to be left second guessing what your motives are for being friendly. So you have to be mindful of your behavior when you are with people in relationships. If you wouldn't do something with him when your partner is present, then don't do it when your partner's not there. If you're flirting with any of your friends, male friends, relationship or not, it's just not part of the deal for platonic relationships. You have to set yourself clear moral boundaries. And like you've said, Derry, honesty is such an important part of the relationship itself. Your relationship takes precedence over the friendship, and I don't want to make it more superior than friendships, but generally speaking, that people would probably risk a friendship more than they would risk a relationship. So if you confide in your opposite sex friend more than you do with your partner, then that's a clear indication that something is not right with your own relationship. And just because you're not sleeping with your friend doesn't mean you're not having an emotional affair with them. That's just as damaging as cheating. So watching your communication lines, being honest with each other, and being honest with each other's partners, that you are actually offering a truly platonic experience with this person. So I think you're absolutely right. Trust and honesty and establishing boundaries are very important when there's another person involved. And one other thing I'd like to point out is that when you have platonic friends and your friends start to build relationships with other people, or have had relationships with other people, or is in a relationship, the important thing to remember that the partners are part of that dynamic too. So you can't neglect the fact that there's more people involved in this arrangement now. And it's to make sure everyone is experiencing your platonic friendship from a healthy point of view.
Yeah. This goes for, when you're online as well, so if you've befriended someone and they are in a relationship, or if you're in a relationship too, whatever, don't be writing or accepting, suspect DMs. Don't send those private messages where, you're saying certain things that you would not say in person, like you said, or don't accept them if they're doing it, because it's private and it can't be shared. Oh yeah, you can take a screenshot of that. Don't even engage in it. It's not even worth it.
Absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, in terms of both people, whether you're single or not, and the other person is attached to a relationship, you carry that responsibility as well, equally so, for your own moral compass. So, make sure you're doing the right thing when nobody's watching.
We'd love to hear your comments on this episode. Comment on social media using the handle @DereeAllen, or email us at kickingit@DereeAllen.com. And by the way, Kicking It has no G. Now I want to shift into the whole friends with benefits psychology, because, there's even a movie about it. I don't know if you've ever seen it, with Justin Timberlake. It's a phrase that was coined years ago, but it's been going on forever. It's casual sex in a way. So what we want to talk about here is, however you feel about it, whether you've ever engaged in it or not, whoever is listening, whether you have ever engaged in it, or if you condone it, or you have lots of hard judgment about it, or whatever, we're going to talk about why people do it and why it gets so complicated. And I think this is one of the main reasons why people question the platonic friendship thing, because it's like, anytime men and women get together, and we know that's not true. There's lots of people of the opposite sex that we're not having sex with, like almost everyone, you know what I mean? So it's kind of ridiculous, but the friends with benefits thing has kind of escalated that social norm. So let's talk about whether it's really worth it, why it gets so complicated, why people do it, and all of that.
I think firstly, to understand friends with benefits, so it is one of the most studied and most complex friendship patterns on the planet. So there's a lot of studies going on with friends with benefits as we speak. It's a fairly new age phenomenon, and it shows changing and varying sexual attitudes amongst women especially. So friends with benefits is basically an association between friends, where friends have a sexual relationship with each other, but they have no romantic linking togetherness. They're not in a relationship. So it has all the benefits of a friendship and all the benefits of a relationship, but without the responsibilities and commitments that, real relationships demand. But it is important to understand that friends with benefits is not the same as just hooking up with a random person or random guy you've just met. That's just a hookup. Friends with benefits is slightly more complicated than that. It is repeated flings with someone you feel safe with, a friend, someone you trust, and someone you share common interests, activities, and more importantly, common friends. So there's a lot more at stake when we talk friends with benefits, and there's a lot more risks. And hopefully it gives us a lot more rewards, and we'll go through that in the conversation as we speak about it. But I want to make clear what a friends with benefits relationship is not. By adding sex to an existing friendship, it will not move the relationship towards a committed romantic relationship. And this is by far the overarching assumption that women make when it comes to getting involved in a friends with benefits relationship. The starting point is it's a platform to move into a relationship, and it creates the hope of something more. So that's what a friends with benefits relationship is in terms of the definition. Is it worth it? And where to from here? It's super exciting in terms of it seems to be the perfect setup for guys and for girls, and it's always a good idea at first until you quickly find out that it is not as a good deal as it seems to be. It's not as glamorous as you think it might be. The reason for that is most people don't use a friends with benefits relationship for what it's designed for. So it's designed to have physical intimacy with a secure or trusted friend, but no expectations and no commitment. But that's hard, right? That's hard. It's hard to be emotionally connected to somebody and see them repeatedly and share common interests and even share some common friends, yet not at the same time want to develop more for them. So the rules are not really in place when this starts, and both people at some point, it's not long, it doesn't take too long for both people who are involved in a friends with benefits relationship to be equally confused.
I know that there's, studies about, what happens to a woman when she has sexual, intercourse with a man, and that hormone oxytocin, increases, and oxytocin is a bonding hormone. And so even though there are some women that say, I've got this no strings attached situation and I'm good and my mind is just like a man's when I have sex. It's just like I can do it and I don't feel anything afterwards or whatever. And that might be so for, the first couple of times, but most women, after 3 or 4 times with the same person that they actually like, that they're friends with, that they care about, it's not so no strings attached anymore because of that hormone. And
I think that's a wonderful insight. That's the chemistry, the science behind can women really have sex without emotions. Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, the fact that we are doing this and the fact that friends with benefits exist means that, sure, we are becoming more open to less committed type relationships. So does say a lot about our varying sexual attitudes, and if we are progressing and we are transitioning to be able to have sex with and not need much commitment from it. However, our bodies and our evolution biologically speak something else. Men and women, like you say, oxytocin is a very powerful hormone. So powerful, it's the same hormone that makes mom bond with their babies when they're born, despite the fact that they've been to hell and back. It's the same hormone that makes them they can do this again. It's that powerful. Like, she's just almost lost her life. But it's the same hormone that creates so much warmth and affection that she's ready to do this again and again if she has to, and again. And that's how powerful the hormone is. And during lovemaking, a woman is creating this hormone in exceeding quantities compared to men. And, if you're trying not to bond with somebody, you're going to find it quite challenging because your body is doing something totally different. And there's only so much your mind can say, I'm not feeling anything. At some point, your body and your mind catches up. And before you know it, you're emotionally attached to this person you're sleeping with. And you're going to start to ask yourself questions as to where is this going and where to from here, and why is he seeing other people, and why is he committing to other people but not me? There's so many questions you tend to ask yourself when you're in this relationship, and there's so many opportunities to feel rejected as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to make it clear that this can happen to men too. I mean, they don't produce as fast as we do, but they can, of course, become bonded with a woman and want more than she wants as well. And so it goes both ways here, but we're women, so we keep on focusing on the she and the her. It's really complicated, and I understand, though, even though we kind of know what's going to happen for the most part, I kind of get why certain people might want to get into a friends with benefits relationship in the first place, because a lot of women, I could speak as a woman who was single for over 12 years before I got married last year, sometimes you're just fed up. You're like, the relationship thing is a lot of work, and sometimes you feel like I'm doing a lot more than the other person is doing, and maybe there's just really nobody out there for me. Maybe there's just, a situation where nobody will commit to me, or whatever the case, whatever your lamentation is about the opposite sex and the relationship that you actually want. And so you say, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to, do what they do. That's an attitude that I've had at some point, and that I have heard or worked with other females on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Those are very strong motivating factors to enter a friends with benefits relationship. I mean, the big one is we secretly, with all our surveys and research, the majority of our participants would say, I simply hoped he would fancy a romantic relationship with me, and I was hoping this could push the boundaries further. But we've talked about that one already. The other option, the other reasons why we would enter a friends with benefits relationship is, like you said, I'm so fed up with just guys coming and going, and there's no stability. I may as well, have some sort of physical intimacy with someone I see regularly, and he's committed to me in some way, shape, or form. So you could use it for that extra boost of feeling desired and security, and for giving you that level of confidence that you need. So there's many reasons why one would choose to get into a friends with benefits relationship just for the physical pleasure. And the other one is you might even be coming out from a breakup and craving intimacy. Relationships have a lot of intimacy, and when you break up with somebody, you're still in that zone where you're craving a lot of intimacy. And so friends are the natural ports of call when it comes to reconnecting that or making you feel as if you have an intimate relationship with them. And sometimes that comes in the form of sex, and that's where friends with benefits comes in. But there's also the other option where where we are sleeping with ex-partners, and that's still a friends with benefits relationship because you're no longer dating your ex-partner. So there are couples that still sleep with their ex-partners, and that's typically a friends with benefits set up again. It provides security. There's no messing about, and it does look like it gives you a lot of rewards, but long term, if you're not on the same page with each other, and if you know what you want from the relationship and you get what you need, and you know where to end it because it's going to end at some point, then fine. I think you can really enjoy a friends with benefits relationship for what it's designed for. But if you're just getting into it just to satisfy a few of your needs at present, emotionally or physically, then you need to be careful about what you're getting yourself into, because it is harder to manage the outcomes later on than to deal with your present needs.
Yeah, on paper it seems so simple and but until, like you said, your physiology and your spirituality and your emotions get involved, and then it's like, okay, it's not so simple. Mm-hmm.
It's not so simple. I mean, the rules are important. I mean, in my book, I go through a lot of details in terms of what the rules are, and if played by the rules, I'm absolutely certain that these relationships can work. It also takes away the mysteriousness and the adventure as well. So nobody wants to play by the rules. They're quite enjoying getting into this with head first.
No. Oh gosh. Well, this has been a really interesting conversation, Pamela, and I know you provide coaching to people that goes deeper into this. I think first you should get the book, because the book is going to give you a lot of insight, but please tell people how they can reach out to you for more information and get your book and coaching and everything.
Oh, absolutely. So the book is called Just Friends, The Ultimate Girl's Guide to Male Friendships. It is the first platonic friendship book on the market that incorporates modern science, and it teaches us how to initiate and maintain and sustain male friendships. So it's all the secrets from, my entire life of experience combined with social science research, all laid out with the tips to encourage opposite sex friendships. Now, the book is just not a book by itself. It is almost a guidebook for life in terms of handling the people around you, your kids, your work colleagues. It just helps you, if you understand the world around you better, you're better able to, have a more dynamic life. So the book is a tool for life in terms of working with and incorporating opposite sex people in our lives. So in terms of where people can find me, on my social media, my Facebook page is Platonic Planet, Instagram and Twitter, also Platonic Planet. And the book itself has been a number one Amazon bestseller. The book's available on Amazon right now as we speak. There's a paperback and a Kindle version, and they've both been number one bestsellers and number one hot new releases in the week of its launch, and continuing to persist through. I strongly encourage you to get it. Mainly because I know how much effort went into the book to make sure that it's rewarding for people out there, and it makes a difference and it changes lives. It is transforming, to say the least. And my website is www.platonicplanet.co.uk, and I also offer one-on-one coaching in terms of building relationships with other people, and my focus is only on friendships. So I help people live a happier, healthier life by investing in friendships and dealing with everything friendship related, including dealing with negative friends, building and enhancing your friendships, and now more so with opposite sex friendships, how to deal with the complexities of friends with benefits, friend zones, flirtationship, and what to do when attraction comes in. So all the wonderful things that connect us together.
Excellent. So please contact Pamela if you need a speaker or a writer on this topic. I'm sure she'd be happy to oblige you on that. She is very, very knowledgeable on this topic of friendship. And all of the links to her website and her social media contacts will be in the show notes for this episode at DereAllen.com. So, Pamela, I want to thank you once again for joining us. This has been a really fun conversation. The time just flew by, as I knew it would.
Oh, absolutely. The time's just gone by so quick. I can't believe we spent almost an hour talking about this, but it was fun.
Yes, and I'm telling you, if you thought this conversation was something, this is just a little tiny little drop in the bucket. Get the book, okay? All right. Thank you, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for kicking it with me. If you like this show, I'd love to have your support. Visit patreon.com/kicking it with Dere, without the G, to learn more.